The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our community. Coming up on today's show, peace journalism. What is it, and how can editors and reporters make choices that improve the prospects for peace? Then it's America's Money Answers Man here to share financial tips to get you out of debt and find money you may have forgotten you had. After that, we'll discuss how the Andrew Friedman home went from empty to full of life. Also, a talent search for the Peace December is on. Don't miss the opportunity to showcase your talent. Auditions are right around the corner. And finally, we'll talk to a producer-director that asks that anyone who truly loves the game of baseball help in the production of a Mets-inspired film. All this and much more is headed your way because we are now officially open. Hola mi gente, I'm your host, Cristina Pagan, and today is Wednesday, July 9th, and of course you're watching Open, the only live and interactive program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We want to encourage you to stay connected to us. You can find us on Twitter at BronxNetTV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Why would you not be there? Our first guest joins us to break down how you can prepare your financial future to keep you up to date on all the latest financial news. We welcome America's Money Answers Man, author of Master Your Debt, Jordan Goodman. Welcome, sir.
Great to be with you, Katrina.
Thank you. So, on our topics list today, we were talking about, off camera, mortgage rates being on the rise. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So what's happened on the mortgage market, interest rates have been going down, but lately they've been starting to go up a little bit for several reasons. We had some very strong unemployment report last week, so it looks like things are getting better, more jobs being created. The Fed Reserve has been pushing interest rates down for a long time. They're now easing up on that, the so-called quantitative easing. Last year they were buying $85 billion of bonds a month. Now they're down to $35 billion. And by the end of the year, they're going to be out of that altogether. So they've been kind of artificially keeping rates low, and with that stopping, looks like rates will start going up. So on the mortgage area, if your current mortgage is, I would say, 4.5% or higher, it's going to pay to take a look and see if you can refinance your mortgage. You can get about 4%, something like that, on a 30-year fixed. You could get about 3% on a 15-year fixed. I mean, these are really incredibly low rates. So if rates start rising, it's a time to start getting into those. A website that can help you there would be youcanrefi.com and get the best deal on that.
What does that mean for, you're talking about people who already have a mortgage. What does that mean for people like me who are looking to buy?
Even better. Even better. You can start, you don't have to go through the refinancing process. You can start at one of these incredibly low rates. If you can afford a 15-year, that's a lot better than a 30-year because you can pay it off faster and your interest rate's much lower.
Right.
So a website there would be arcloan.com, ARCLOAN.com. An ARC loan is a loan where the rate only goes down and never up. So if rates fall further, it actually goes down even further. If rates go up, it doesn't affect you. So that's something you can do.
But it would stay fixed.
Correct.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
try to save you money,
Thank you. I love it. So what about this reverse mortgages then?
Right. Okay, so reverse mortgage is where you already own your home and you're 62 plus, and what happens is you can get a reverse mortgage where you pay off your underlying mortgage, you get cash left over, and you don't have to make any payments. So that's why it's a reverse mortgage. With a regular mortgage, you make payments to the bank. With a reverse mortgage, the bank pays you, in effect. Typically, you could do it as a lump sum, or you can do it as a credit line or an annuity where they pay you every month. Most people do the lump sum. So say you had a house worth, whatever, $200,000 or something like that, and you had maybe a $50,000 mortgage. You could get a reverse mortgage for maybe $150,000, something like that. You pay off your $50,000 mortgage. You now have $100,000 left. Maybe you pay off credit card bills or other debt, and then invest the rest for income. So it's really for people who are retired or getting near retirement a time to really be able to cash in the value of their home. A website to help you there is smartmoneyreverse.com, and they can help you find the best reverse mortgage anywhere in the country.
Can you explain that a little further? That you said you get a $50,000 mortgage, but in reverse you get $150. So you have $100.
Your house is worth $200.
Right.
You're not going to get the full value of the house, but I'm saying if you did a reverse mortgage, you might get cash for $150,000 against the value of your home at $200. You use $50 of that $150 to pay off that underlying mortgage.
Right.
So now you're in a situation you've got cash and you have no more mortgage payment, so you can live on that as a retired person.
Is that still a loan, or is that just...
It is. A reverse mortgage is a loan. You're paying interest on it, but not every month. When you leave the home or die, then whatever the amount that you borrowed comes due and it gets paid back at that time. But you don't have to make current payments as you do with a regular mortgage.
Oh, I see. I see why that would be then beneficial for people who are seniors.
Correct.
Right.
It's your last asset. A lot of people, that's their big asset, is their home. And it's a way of cashing in on your big asset and still getting to live in it. Because you still own the home, you just have a reverse mortgage on it.
That's fantastic. So what about then unclaimed assets?
Right. Now, there's a lot of money out there. Are you open to me giving you millions of dollars, Christina?
Give me.
All right. The fact is, a lot of people have money they do not realize is out there. Say you moved from one place to another, or say you left a job and went from one job to another. Well, in many cases, they still the owners of the assets, the custodian of the assets, don't know you moved, don't know you left your job. So there are bank accounts, life insurance policies, 401ks, pensions, life insurance settlements, all kinds of assets that they can't find you. Now, there is a New York State Office of Unclaimed Assets, as they call it, that has all this, literally billions of dollars a year that people lose when they move from one place to another. Now, the rules are that they have to try to find you for 5 years. And if they can't find you after 5 years, guess who gets the money?
The state.
You got it. It's a big source of revenue for the state.
I bet.
Now, how do they try to find you? They put little legal notices in newspapers that nobody reads,
Of course.
and you're supposed to try to figure this thing out.
Like, how hard do they really look?
Yeah, most people don't really find. Only about 5% of the assets that are ever lost are ever claimed by people.
Right.
But your audience are going to be claiming these things, because here's a website to find missing money, and it's called missingmoney.com.
Oh, how convenient.
And so what happens is all the state agencies of unclaimed assets, not only in New York, but all over the country, have assets. So you go in there, it's free. You go in there, you put your name, all your past addresses, and any version of your name as well, like Queen Christina as well as just Christina, all the other names.
How did you know?
And then what happens is it'll come up and they say, well, you had a bank account at this bank. Oh, yeah, 10 years ago I forgot about that or something. And I had a 401k at a former job. When I left it, I forgot about it. And you could find literally thousands of dollars in what's called missing money. So missingmoney.com is a place to find it.
That's pretty interesting. I would assume that, I'm sure a lot of people assume that once they leave a job that anything that they had invested that might be lost altogether. So
It's still there. It was the custodian of, say, the 401k still has the money. They just don't know that you moved or where you went. So you have to go tell them where you are. You then have to prove who you are, that in fact you were at that address. And once you prove it, you can have... People literally get tens of thousands of dollars sometimes they didn't know they had.
That's awesome. All right, we have 2 minutes to go, so
Okay.
Can we talk about life insurance
So
policies?
selling life insurance policies. Now, if you have a life insurance policy that you don't need anymore, say your kids are now self-sufficient, you can sell that life insurance policy in what's called the life settlement market, and again, make hundreds of thousands of dollars you didn't know was possible. Say you had a policy worth $1 million and you had $100,000 in cash value, and you were 70, something like that. You can then sell that policy for $400,000 to somebody who buys it, and then when you die, they get the $1 million. But meanwhile, you get $400,000 right up front.
Right.
If you return it back into the insurance company because you didn't want to make the premiums anymore, you'd get back the $100,000 in cash value. So the insurance companies will never tell you can sell your life insurance policies because they want you to either turn it back in or let it lapse.
Right.
But there's a huge market in so-called life settlements. There is a website for that too, which is fundinglife.com. And what they do is they put buyers and sellers together. There are people that want to buy those policies. If you have a policy you want to sell, they put it together. And literally, I just gave you several hundreds of thousands of dollars you didn't know you had.
Yes, I
You're feeling richer.
I feel like Scrooge McDuck. I want to go dive in some gold coins or something. But in terms of selling your life insurance, you're still, that person is buying something that's under your name, and when you die, they get it?
Correct.
Or, okay.
So in my example, say you had $1 million policy,
Yeah.
they bought it for $400,000. When you die, they become the beneficiary.
So it's
they
just
get
a
the
matter
$1
of
million.
signing over different names to who.
Correct. They now are the owner of the policy. They have to pay the premiums when you die. So they'd rather that you die sooner rather than later, right? So if you're sick,
Gotta
they
find
really like that a
honest
lot.
people. Oh, boy.
They're not going to knock you off. But I mean, that's the idea: is they become the owner and beneficiary of the policy. You get the $400,000 up front. They get the death benefit when you die. But meanwhile, you've got money out of it that sometimes people just let it lapse, and they're turning down hundreds of thousands of dollars. So again, fundinglife.com is a website to find, hundreds of thousands of dollars you didn't know you had. So between that and missing money, we've taken care of your entire audience.
Right. I'm going to run down those websites again. We talked about reverse mortgages.
And that's smartmoneyreverse.com, where you can do a reverse mortgage in your house. That's
and
right.
The refinancing your mortgage.
Refinancing is youcanrefi.com to get those lower rates.
And you just said missingmoney.com for
Right.
unclaimed assets, and fundinglife.com for selling your life insurance.
You're all taken care of.
Oh, thank you so much for joining
Thank you,
us today.
Christina. Very good.
We have to take a quick break, but first, let's take a look at the 5th annual 25 Influential Women Honors at Villa Barone Manor. BronxNet correspondent Isa Rivera has more.
We're here in Villa Barone for the 5th annual 25 Most Influential Women of the Bronx award ceremony. Laura Guerreiro from the Bronx Times recognizes 25 outstanding women every year who have dedicated their lives to bettering the lives of others.
This is the 5th year that we're doing this event. It's basically for women who go beyond their jobs, who influence the people of the Bronx.
The Mistress of Ceremony was honored to be a part of the celebration and talked to us about the importance of recognizing individuals who are making a difference.
This group of women is the real heart of our community. These are the women who serve their neighborhoods, nonprofit organizations, school groups, who usually do not get recognized.
All of the honorees were women who volunteered their time.
I serve as the director of a parenting center, which is a parish-based program. It's a volunteer position. So basically, I just dedicate a lot of my time to meeting weekly with moms of young children. And we just each week speak about different parenting topics.
We are all registered nurses, LVNs, and certified nursing assistants. And everything we do for the sick has to be free. So that's our special mission, going out to take care of the sick people. And we spend the nights with them, giving the families a relief, and the care workers so they can rest at night.
What my responsibilities entail are special events, park events, anything that has to do with the politicians and how I can serve as a liaison between whatever the community needs and higher officials.
It was really exciting, actually. It's not often that, somebody calls you up and says, oh, you're going to get this award. And it was kind of crazy. And then the next question they had for me was, do you have a bio? And I said, well, I could borrow someone's bio, but I'm not important, so no one ever asked me for mine.
The Chief of Staff for the Bronx Chamber of Commerce was honored for her outstanding work.
This award is not only a great honor, but a welcomed responsibility, reminding me how crucial it is to serve and engage our business community.
Among the honorees was BronxNet's very own Arlene Makoko. She was recognized for her work as a reporter as well as her impact on the community.
My advice, just to serve people, love people, find out what's happening out there, and that truly is what really is able to give you a platform to help others.
These 25 women were recognized for bettering our community, not because it was their job, but because they had the genuine desire to do so. For BronxNet, this is Isa Marie Rivera.
Welcome back to Open. The 30th anniversary of the 86 Mets World Championship season is fast approaching, and our next guest believes we don't need retired numbers or commemorative plaques to celebrate the beloved 86ers. She believes that what is needed is to highlight such a historic event is a movie. We welcome director and producer Heather Quinlan. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. So we were talking off camera how you're born and bred Mets fan from the Bronx, and I'm a born and bred Yankees fan from Queens. How does that work?
Sometimes it just happens. I don't know. I did meet a couple Met fans from the Bronx who said that where they lived in the Bronx, it might have been the Bronx or somewhere area, it's actually easier to get to Shea than it is Yankee Stadium, so that's how it happened with them. Maybe that's with me. I don't know. But yes, I do. I am a Met fan, indeed.
So tell me about your love affair with the Mets. How did that start? Is that a family thing, or?
Well, my mom actually was a Met fan, too. She loved Tug McGraw, Tom Seaver, Ed Kranepool, all those guys from the '69 era, and I guess she sort of passed that along to me as well. And when I was a kid and I started to like baseball was when the '86 season started. And I think when you're a kid and your team is great, it makes such an impact on you as opposed to if I just started paying attention to the Mets now. I have like a job, looking at reverse mortgages, all these things. Baseball was my life back then. So it's still like a big deal to me. I still feel like a 12-year-old about it sometimes.
Have you always been a filmmaker?
No, not always, but I was in theater, I was in book publishing, and now I'm a filmmaker. I think the common thread through them all is the art of storytelling. So how to tell a good story, how to get people interested. My previous film was on the New York accent, and it was called If These Knishes Could Talk, and the Bronx was featured rather prominently in that. And, being able to tell a story about an accent was not easy, but I think it really helped me learn sort of how the art and craft of storytelling for this film.
Great. So where are you in terms of the process about this documentary?
Well, I started filming in January, and I actually have interviewed several of the '86 Mets: Lenny Dykstra, Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, Mookie, and Buckner.
How nervous were you when you were doing that?
Oh my God, I was dying all over the place. But you got to keep it all inside, But it was actually rather easy to film them. They were all very nice. I just finished filming Kevin Mitchell in San Diego, and also some fans, mixed marriages, Met Yankee couples. A guy who was the chaplain of the '86 Mets.
Mets Boston. Did you find any Mets Boston couples?
I haven't interviewed any, but there are indeed. So I have Met Boston friends who watch Game 6 together and are still friends to this day.
Oh, lucky them. It must have been contentious.
A little bit.
I mean, talk about, you watched that World Series, obviously. So how did you feel when that happened as a child?
I feel like this film is a bit of my penance because, to be honest, I went to bed at Game 6. I was so sure they were going to lose. I was heartbroken, and I couldn't take it anymore. I went to bed, and I woke up to hear my mom screaming because the ball had gone through Buckner's legs and they won. So I stayed up for all of Game 7. But yeah, this is sort of my apology, maybe to myself.
This is your atonement.
My atonement, indeed.
How dare you go to sleep, young lady?
I'm still all upset about it. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your Kickstarter campaign for this.
So I launched a Kickstarter campaign about 2 weeks ago. I've raised so far about $7,300, which has been fantastic. I'm aiming to raise $50,000, and for people who don't know about Kickstarter, you need to make your entire goal or you make nothing. So even if people pledge and I make up to $40,000, if I don't make 50, I don't get anything.
Right.
So it's really important that people contribute to it, and the reason why it's such a high number is to show Major League Baseball and to show the Mets organization that people are really willing to put forth money to see this movie made, and then it's really important to them. And also, Major League Baseball footage is expensive. It's $12,000 a minute.
Wow.
So, I can't do a Mets film without having Major League Baseball footage. I mean, it's just, I can't have people reenact the whole season.
You should have the players come back on a baseball field.
Exactly.
If you build it, they will come, I'm sure.
I know. So, and just, there was a thing in the news about how somebody has made $50,000 on Kickstarter for potato salad. So, it was a big kind of thing, like he just wanted to make $10, and people have pledged all this money. So, my challenge to Met fans is, if this guy can make that much money on potato salad, I am hoping to make that much money to be able to bring this film to light.
Have you spoken to any other maybe more prominent contributors? Have you asked some of the '86 Mets if they could help, or if they know anybody who might be able to help?
I haven't talked to the Mets about it per se. I'm in talks with Major League Baseball right now about moving forward with the film. The Mets organization, I kind of wanted to have this under my belt before I show them that I can do this. In terms of, I've gotten some great donations from even a reviewer from New York Magazine donated money and said, I don't even like baseball, but I think this film should be made. And another director has donated money, obviously family and friends, but really I've gotten some great donations from people that I don't know and who are, contributing money just on the basis of, their love of the team.
So when do you hope to have this finished?
Well, I really want to bring the 86 Mets into Sundance. And I really want to elevate them to a level where no one had, they're known as like the scum bunch, right? But I always maintain there's a certain amount of art and poetry in that, and that people really loved this team, warts and all. They loved them because they were dirty and disgusting. And it gave us a lot of swagger, something we haven't really had in this city in a long time, we Met fans. So, so I think I want to kind of celebrate that part of them. And the Sundance deadline is September, but it'll be September of next year. I want to have it at least mostly finished in time to release for the 30th anniversary in 2016.
How much do you have left? I mean, you said you had interviewed a bunch of the 86ers, but what, other than the footage from Major League Baseball, what is left to add to this film?
Oh, there's a lot left to film. I mean, there's definitely also other players that I need to. I mean, the Keith Hernandezes and the Ron Darlings and all them. I'm aiming to film a golf game between Kevin Mitchell and Jesse Orozco in San Diego, things like that, and just a lot more of the fan stories. And also, the film is also about how the 86 Mets fit Koch's New York, whereas the 90s Yankees fit Giuliani's New York. Much more professional team, less scummy, more clean
cut.
Yes, exactly.
I remember back in the 90s a Simpsons episode where they were making fun of the Yankee rules where you can't have the sideburns. Your sideburns are too long. Right. So they shave his head off. What keeps you as a Met fan today? Is it just loyalty at this point, or?
Well, it is loyalty. I do have a thing for the underdog, even though I became a Met fan when they were really, really popular. It is. It's sort of like the same way, almost like you're part of a family, and you're not going to leave your family, unless something really major happens, and that's a whole other interview. But it sort of like becomes a part of your DNA almost. So, and there's a whole camaraderie among fans. There's a whole network among fans. I'm wearing the 7-line T-shirt, which was created by a fan of the Mets, and it's his own business now. So there's so much that goes into being a fan in addition to the baseball, the culture, and the friendship and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you so much, Heather, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
You can visit her Kickstarter page. Now let's take a look at the trailer for the 86 Mets, the movie.
And it is 5-3 Red Sox. It's so quiet in New York, you can almost hear Boston. 55,078 here at Shea, and they have really been put through the ringer. And the Mets are down to their last out. Tonight's NBC Miller Lite player of the game is Marty Barrett. Marty had 3 singles and 2 walks. Handled everything hit his way. Refuse to go quietly. With 2 out, they come scrambling back with consecutive hits by Carter, Mitchell, and Knight. Two out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it. Can you believe this ball game at Shea?
Oh, brother. all fans, you've been watching a trailer for 86 Mets, The Lords of Flushing, a film about the city that never sleeps and a team that never slept either. Starring Dwight Gooden, Lenny Dykstra, Bill Buckner and Mookie Wilson, Jeff Pearlman, Rudy Giuliani, Chuck Schumer, Sandy Palmer, Paul Auster and Bill Corbett, Met poet Frank Messina, and Darryl Strawberry.
If they had social media in our days, we'd all been in trouble right now, you know.
Rounding third and heading home in 2015.
Welcome back to Open. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan. Our next guests are here to tell us how the Andrew Friedman home went from empty to full of life and open for the community to enjoy. We welcome the director of the Andrew Friedman home, Walter Puryear, and Dr. Andrea Kantrowitz. Thinking through drawing project director. So, tell us about the Andrew Friedman home, the history of the Andrew Friedman home.
Oh, well, really quickly, it started construction in 1922, completed in 1928. Its original purpose was to allow people, wealthy people who lost their money, to continue to live in a state of opulence.
Oh, from the Depression.
From the Depression, exactly. So this was Andrew Friedman's mission. So he devoted a large sum of money to this. Since then, so it carried on for a period of years, and then it closed down. And it's a massive building, so no one really knew what to do with it. It was purchased by Mid-Bronx Senior Citizens Council in 1984, I believe.
Good year.
And yeah, it was a good year. And since then, they started with social service programs, but then realizing that art is an integral part of economic development, they have shifted their focus to devoting art education and art skills to giving this to other people in the surrounding community. So it's more of an extension of the mission that they've had for the last 30 years. It is very much about teaching people and giving them skills that were not normally available previously, especially in production, post-production. This is one aspect that we focus on.
Mhm.
Music production is another aspect. Sculpture, welding is another aspect. So we have a colony of 14 artists upstairs now who, in exchange for their studio space, give 20 hours a month of service towards this mission.
That's fantastic. And
Thank you.
how did you get involved in that?
How? I don't, it's a good
Just
question.
fell into it?
I kind of did just fall into it. I think I have an art background, which a lot of people don't know, and I also have a real estate background. So both of them just seem to serve and lend themselves naturally towards this project. And that's pretty much how I got involved. They saw me and they were like, you have an understanding of both. How do you see this space? How can we revitalize this space in a new and innovative way?
Mhm.
And I was very fortunate and blessed that they gave me the opportunity to try to implement this project.
How long have you been working there?
I've been working there for 10 years. It's been the last 3 years since
you've
I've been the director, yes.
And how has your experience changed from working there to being the director? You've seen both sides now.
It's such an honest question, so I'm trying to scale down my honest answer. But I think the difference is once you become responsible for people in a very particular way, you have to deal with administrative aspects of a job, which while they're always there, some people gravitate to that more than others.
Right.
I am much more suited towards the projects and the partnerships and collaborations created there. I can do the other aspect, but I think this is the challenge because it's different managing people in a very specific real estate job and then managing artists.
Right.
So that's the difficulty.
And Andrea, how do you fit into this? You are the director of the drawing...
Thinking Through Drawing project, which is out of Teachers College at Columbia University. So we met Walter, and who's extremely open and wonderful to work with to new ideas.
She's saying that because she's on TV.
I would say that even if we weren't on TV. But so he invited us to do some drawing workshops that have actually come out of some research that and symposium that's been happening at Columbia University and the University of the Arts in London. So I have a couple of collaborators who actually, one of whom is arriving today from London, and who are going to be co-teaching these workshops with me. And what we're doing is bringing all the cutting edge research and making it accessible to teachers and others, anyone really who's interested in using drawing as a way of thinking. And there's going to be a lot of fun exploration and experimentation. And teachers will receive 3 continuing education units credits from Teachers College for participating.
That's fantastic. How do people get involved in that?
They can go to the Andrew Freeman website. There's a link available, and they can email us with any questions. My name, Andrea Kantrowitz @gmail.com, if they want to just email me directly, or contact Andrew Freeman. And we're really excited. We're also doing some community workshops, drawing workshops on 2 Saturdays in conjunction with the Bronx Museum that are open to everyone, to families. We're really hoping will participate in those.
Oh, are there any other, I mean, there are monthly events at the Andrew Freeman Home.
There are. And this workshop, the cognitive drawing workshop, is a really good example of how we want to collaborate with other organizations, particularly around arts education. I think one of the reasons I gravitated towards Andrea and her group is because not only will they be teaching new skills for teachers in their development and use in the classroom, but also the free workshops that she mentioned, the specific focus is to facilitate a better relationship between parents and kids. And I've worked with parents and kids for a long time. So there is always a need to create a stronger communication between these 2 generations in a family unit. And to be able to do that in a less aggressive approach, and to be able to express yourself through drawing to communicate what you might need from your parent or vice versa, is a very key and fundamental thing, especially in this time and especially for the Bronx. So yes, we do have a lot of things going on, but I wanted to say that because it really does represent what we're trying to build in and around Andrew Freeman. The other things we have opening July 14th, we have the opening of the Casita project, which is a collaboration between the Bronx Museum and the Andrew Freeman Home. There will be an outside casita which will be completed. It is in construction now, and that opening will be from 5 to 8. Afterwards, the Andrew Freeman Home will also have its studios open, and all the artists will be upstairs showing their work. So that's happening on July 14th. We then have August 1st, Hacker Playground, which we will be doing in conjunction with NYU, hopefully if everything works out. But we want to introduce this because a lot of younger people are very much focused on digital technology, and that's just a part of them in a way that it's not with our generation. So we want to allow a space for them to further develop and explore how they can use this, not only in their social life, this is one aspect, but really in their development and career development. They might not even be thinking about a career at first when they're coming to the Hacker Playground, but we hope that when they leave, that they will be thinking about one for themselves.
What does that mean, Hacker Playground?
It means basically a space where we will have platforms for people to create or expand upon apps that are used on mobile phones, various smartphones. And it also means having a space where kids who have the skill can really begin to play with some of those platforms and use them in ways that have not been discovered yet. That's what Hacker Playground means.
That sounds fantastic.
And the last thing is September, in the beginning of September, Danny Halbin, who has been on the show before, there will be the Bronx Artist Documentary Project, which will have 79 artists and over 1,000 photographs of the artists in work in process. This is happening in the beginning of September. Bronx Fashion Week is also happening at the same time in the beginning of September. And then September 18th will be the opening of Black Wall Street, which is a theatrical production that has been touring and was just in Harlem. This is all happening in September because we kind of wanted to create a nexus and a focus of different art platforms and mediums so that when people come, they can explore a variety of different things and experience it culturally.
You saw me looking over. It's okay. No, that sounds wonderful. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And just really quickly, because I'm wrapping up, where can people go to find out more information about this?
You can go to the Andrew Freeman website, You can go to www.midbronx.org. You can also find us on Facebook, and you can also email me if you wish. And my email is wpuryear@midbronx.org.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me.
You're very welcome.
We have to take a quick break, but first we take a look at the Dr. Bob Lee Golf Classic.
Our very own Bob Lee, who runs the successful Make the Grade Foundation, is out of the studio and on the golf course today making a hole-in-one for our students' education.
The event was held at the country's oldest golf course at Van Cortlandt Park. The weather matched perfectly for the event and folks came ready to have a good time. Bob Lee tells the story of how this event began.
This is great. I didn't like golf for a long time until we were with the Correction Officers Benevolent Association outing. And usually you just go there and say, hey, da-da-da-da, and you're out of there. But the guy said, hey, when I was getting ready to go, he said, hey, you play? I said, not really. He said, you got clubs? I said, yeah, I got it. He said, you playing with us? I said, well, wait a minute, I don't play. He said, yeah, you're playing. So everybody tried to show me what to do. But it was a lot of fun.
Bob has been working with kids for eons. He started out really young with BLS, and then he would do the on-time program and go to different schools. And with that, he became very, very close with the kids and said, I want to do something myself. And then he started the Make the Grade Foundation.
Make the Grade is important because of the services that they provide for mentoring. They provide scholarship, college preparation. And that's what's needed in areas like the Bronx and throughout the city of New York, to have successful adults, successful minorities who could take their knowledge and their experience and give off some of that to our youth.
As with many organizations, you need the support of sponsors and friends who share your passion.
I feel it's very important always to give back to the community and give back to our youth who are our future. I come back every year for that.
We usually sponsor the event because it's an important organization for us, for the community. And, we know Bob personally, and we think he does a great thing for the community.
This is just a way to help the city kids, get ahead. This is very important.
This year, 2 special girls were chosen to represent the youth. Their grandfather, a supporter of Make the Grade, says that he is grateful to be able to expose them to events like this one.
It's very important because you have so much negative in the media. And when you get a chance to shed light on the positives of the youth, what they can do, what they get involved with, the exposure they get with people that's doing things.
That feels amazing, especially if you're representing a few older people.
That's our passion. That's what we want to continue to do.
You may not have been able to make it to today's Golf Classic, but you can certainly be a contributor by logging on to MakeTheGrade.org. For BronxNet, I'm Veronica Guiti.
Bienvenidos to Open. I'm your host, Cristina Pagan. Peace journalism is when editors and reporters make choices that improve the prospects for peace. Here to tell us a little more about what peace journalism means and how it can be applied daily is the director of Center for Global Peace Journalism at Park University, Professor Steve Youngblood. Welcome.
It's my pleasure.
Hi. So, you made a little face when I was giving that description based on what I was given. So can you tell us what peace journalism actually means?
Did I? That was an inadvertent face. Your description was just fine. So you mentioned making choices, and that's really what peace journalism is about. So traditional journalism makes a choice all too often to be sensationalistic, to be exploitative, to pit one group against another group. And even in extreme cases, traditional journalism in many countries has incited violence. And I can cite many, many examples of that, starting back with the Rwandan genocide. You know that media, radio played a large role in that. Well, peace journalism obviously would be the opposite of this, would be that it's journalism where editors, reporters, journalists are aware of the consequences of their reporting. So if we report this story in this way, what are the consequences? So peace journalism doesn't suggest that we would ignore something violent that happens, but what we would say is, how can we report it in a way that it doesn't make a bad situation even worse. That it doesn't, to use an analogy I always use, pour gasoline on the fire. So we're very concerned with how we frame stories. We're very concerned with the language that we use. Because language, of course, can be very powerful and can be very incendiary.
Right. I mean, just in terms of some of the things that have been happening over the past few years, in terms of Syria, what's happened in Russia, I'm sure that those are definitely times where we have to take a look at how do we frame this in a way that won't put a bias on either side, but at least give the story as it is without making it worse.
Exactly. And, you know, in terms of decisions that countries make about going to war or not, the classic example in this country, of course, is the Iraq War. So 10 years ago, and this isn't just me talking, but many media critics and many media outlets themselves would tell you that they didn't do a very good job in the run-up to the Iraq War, that they simply parroted Bush administration propaganda about weapons of mass destruction and so on. And the result was a war that cost us $3 trillion, thousands of American lives, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi lives. What if the press had been more critical in their approach to the administration 10 years ago? I don't know that there wouldn't have still been a war, but I will say that I think it's the press's responsibility to present all of those perspectives. And that's just not good peace journalism, it's good journalism, period.
Can you give us an example of maybe a prominent journalist that you think is doing a particularly good or bad job in that aspect?
Well, if you want a bad job, just tune into the Fox News network. But I will say on the other side, MSNBC just as bad. So whenever you're getting only one perspective, when the news is slanted, when the news is designed to pit one group against another, I think that that has a detrimental effect. And the effect that you see can be seen in some survey data that was released by the Pew Institute just about 2 weeks ago, talking about how polarized Americans really are. So 20 years ago, they have a chart that shows 20 years ago, there was a center, a middle in American politics, but that now we've drifted to either end, very conservative or very liberal. And I think that the media have a responsibility, take some of the responsibility for that fact. In terms of a journalist I really like, I'm a pretty big Nicholas Kristof fan. And I think that a lot of what he does is not only smart, but it's designed to put a different perspective on things. So his reporting about Africa, for example, isn't the same old tired narrative about war and famine and so on, but it seeks to expand it and give a more three-dimensional view of people and events in places like Africa, in places like the Middle East.
What about, I know they've taken surveys, and I know people of a certain age get a lot of their news from the fake news, from The Daily Show, Colbert, and even now I've been watching Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And they're reporting, they obviously they have their own biases, and you can see that, and they're trying to counteract the Fox News that you're talking about. But they also give a perspective that I don't see even in regular journalism, and they do give this whole other aspect and dynamic. How do they fit into this journalism?
What's interesting that you mentioned that. I'm a big fan of both The Daily Show and Colbert, and I've seen John Oliver a couple times and think it's pretty good. So not too long ago, and this may have been Pew as well, but they did a study of to see how informed people were. So it was a giant current events quiz. And then so they got the results of the current events quiz, and then they asked the people, where do you get your news from? And those who scored the highest on the current events quiz, or among the highest, were viewers of Colbert, The Daily Show, and so on. So even though they may have a slanted view, they're getting a lot of news. There's a lot of substantive news value in there, which I think is interesting. You also probably wouldn't be surprised to learn that the least informed, the people who scored the poorest on the news quiz, were Fox News viewers. As a matter of fact, Fox News viewers scored worse than those who admitted to consuming no news at all. So it's literally worse You're literally less informed watching Fox News than you are watching any news.
We should change the
slogan. So I thought that was very fascinating.
That is pretty fascinating. But how do you change that? How do we create an environment in journalism where everyone is giving the correct news, or no news is correct news? Everyone has their own bias, but how do we push toward having everyone in peace journalism doing that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, certainly it's an uphill battle, isn't it? Because Fox has made millions of dollars doing what they do. MSNBC has made millions of dollars doing what they do. So there's a tired notion, I think it's a tired notion, in journalism circles that only sensationalism sells, that you have to be hyper opinionated to get people to pay attention to what you're doing. And that's a notion that I completely disagree with. I think that good storytelling sells. And that you can, like Nicholas Kristof, like occasionally Anderson Cooper, although he's in and out, but occasionally you'll see some of this good reporting on CNN as well, that these kinds of good stories that follow the peace journalism outline, peace journalism guidelines, are compelling and can be compelling. And that's part of what we're doing here this week at BronxNet, is working with young people in how to tell a compelling story using some of these peace journalism ideas, how to give a voice to the voiceless.
And with your interaction with the students, how has that been so far in these workshops?
Terrific. They're very interested, they're curious. They'll challenge me when they think I'm wrong, which is frequently, but that's good.
Right.
So it's been a great experience. And this is my third time in the Bronx, so third time at BronxNet. And so I wouldn't keep coming back if I didn't think it benefited the students and BronxNet, and certainly I enjoy it as well.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Bye.
Welcome home, man.
Creepy Wave. Our next guests are here to talk about the meaning of Ramadan and an event geared towards bringing peace to the community. Here to tell us more is Sheikh Musa Drame and Edna Thomas Granger, Executive Director of New York Peace Coalition. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. So, where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the Peace December and the coalition, or do we want to start with Ramadan? Let's start with Ramadan. Let's start with Ramadan because we're in Ramadan at the moment.
Perfect.
Yes. So let's do that.
Well, thank you for having us again.
Of course. Love having you.
Here come Ramadan again. You know, the Muslims in the Bronx are celebrating their holiest month now. Ramadan is a month of training, training to be a better person, and training to be a good neighbor. And as you know, Ramadan reminds you of the realities around you in terms of hunger problem, extreme poverty, and even not positive interpersonal interactions. So when the month comes, it's like the soldiers marching toward the battle war. So right now we're in a month of Ramadan, and we hope that all the Bronxites will at least take some time this month, to fellowship with Muslims, because it's a beautiful month, to visit a mosque.
For those people who are not Muslim, maybe do not know what Ramadan entails, could you please explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. Ramadan is the 9th month in the Muslim calendar. It is a month where, Muslims fast from sun up to sundown, and fasting means that there's no water, no food, nothing, and hopefully you purify your thoughts and you increase your good deeds and you restrain yourself from doing any bad deeds. And the most important thing is that you must be a neighborly person, meaning that you must inquire about the well-being of your neighbors from the left, from the right, from the front, the back. To do that is to learn about their well-beings. In New York here, we have a lot of working poor, people that may dress nice and walk around, but in reality, there is not even food or basic necessities of life at home. So in Ramadan, we do that. And the most important part of Ramadan also is the communal dinners that we have daily. If you go to any masjid, not any masjid, but most of it, this is New York. Right. Anything New York has variations. But if you go to interfaith-friendly or female-friendly masjids, you will see a lot of non-Muslims congregating with Muslims to eat ethnic food and discuss about different things that are beneficial, mutually beneficial to all of them. So it's a month of training, one more time, to a month of understanding that you are not alone. And while you may be well off, your neighbors may not. And it is your duty to find out about them.
It makes you more of a community.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So you're also part of the Peace Coalition, and Ms. Thomas Granger, you are the executive director of the New York Peace Coalition?
Yes.
So you have the Peace December talent show, I understand, coming up. Tell me a little bit about what's going on.
It's more than a talent show. It's more than the New York Peace Coalition started Peace December in 2010 here in the Bronx. Sheikh started it here. Last year, it grew from just the Bronx to all 5 boroughs, and Gambia, Africa has celebrated with us last year. This year, we have Bangladesh, India, Pakistan,
India, and Egypt,
Egypt,
Morocco, and Senegal.
Wow, you've gone global.
Yes.
Beautiful thing.
Yes, and so the 24-hour Music Peace Marathon we're just starting it here for the first time. And hopefully that will spread. Not hopefully, it will spread. Because it's not just a talent show, it's a forum. Everyone talks about, gun violence and domestic violence, but there's nothing for these kids to do. There's nothing for crazy seniors to do. Okay?
Seniors.
Yeah, there's nothing for people to do. And when I was coming up, we had music in the schools, and we had the doo-wop groups on the corner, and then with the Henry Street Settlement and the Grand Street Settlement, we had the talent shows. So then you could get together, and the kids had something to do.
There were outlets.
Yes, they had a purpose, they had a mission. We wrote a song called Peace is the Reason, and the whole essence of it is I come to stand for peace, which is another reason why there's so much violence. There's nothing for people to stand for. So what I've done is taken the whole concept of what is the solution, and the solution is to regain self-respect and self-pride, because once you respect yourself and love yourself, then you can love others. So in this effort, I'm inviting everyone to come, at grandparents, children. If you ever sung, if you can't sing, if you can tell a story, like a griot, if you can come and tell a story, that would be great. Any form of art. And I also have the International Peace Food Table, which is along with it.
Oh, you caught me. You said food, the magic word.
That's the two international languages, music and food. Well, food first, I think.
Yes. I agree. Food first.
Yeah. So I'm inviting all vendors to come out, to share your food, and everyone, if you think you have talent, if you think your little daughter has talent or your granddaughter, if you have some talent that you want to show, come out. July 12th is one of our events here at 2006 Westchester Avenue between 11 and 6.
Okay, so we have that up on the screen right now. It's your talent search for July 12th, you said, right? What was the address again?
2006 Westchester Avenue.
Okay. And how do people have to sign up beforehand, or can they just show up? What's the procedure there?
Well, I want you to come. So I set up a couple of ways. You can walk in the door. We'd love to have you. You can register online at peacedecember.com. But you cannot just walk in for the December 6th 24-hour marathon.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do have a series. We have one on July 12th. That's this Saturday. And this Saturday, I'm really looking for people who can stay up from 12 to 6 because at night, because I can't do it anymore. I used to do it very well, but I can't do it anymore. So I have hip hop, I have reggaeton, I have any kind of, high life, any kind of music. But I'm looking for the younger people. On the 30th, I have commitments from the oldie doo-wop groups. Ooh. Oh, we're going to have a ball, and some jazz singers, blues singers, that kind of thing, for us who can stay up from 6 to 12.
I mean, and it's wonderful that it fits in with what Sheikh was telling us about what Ramadan means, and becoming more of a community and learning about your fellow man and creating peace amongst everyone, you Muslims, non-Muslims, all together. And you're inviting, I'm sure, everyone in the community, not just Muslims, to enjoy this process and be part of this process, right?
Absolutely everyone, because, well, I'm not Muslim.
At least not yet.
He's working on it. I can
But
see the wheels turning.
I know how to say thank God in every language. I mean, it's okay.
That's good.
It's okay as long as I'm here. Yes. But yes, we're inviting everyone. I'm looking for sponsors if you want to come and join with us. If you want to put your name on some of our objects. No.
What is the goal for not just these events that you're talking about here? What's your goal for maybe next year for the Peace Coalition, the Peace December? I know you've gone global with certain countries so far. What are you pushing for next year?
Oh, well, in terms of, in terms of the music marathon, I want to be Jerry Lewis when I grow up. We're gonna have it, the music marathon simultaneously throughout the whole world.
Wow.
It is absolutely doable because last year, in November, I think I came up with the concept of the music marathon, and this year it is in fruition, and we are going to do it.
That sounds fantastic. I'm sorry we ran out of time, but thank you so much for joining me here.
No problem.
It's been a pleasure coming into your homes, and I'd like to thank our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 10 p.m. on Cablevision Channel 67, Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Have a great week, and don't forget to keep your heart, your mind, and most of all, this channel wide open. Have a great day.